welcome to the deep dive. You know how sometimes you have a plan for your business? Like your
Sure.
goals all set out,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Quarter planned, to-do list ready.
and then something just lands in your lap, totally unexpected.
Happens all the time.
Well, that's kind of what happened today. We're pulling back the curtain a bit. I was all set to talk about my Q1 marketing for my Georgia mobile notary business,
Mm-hmm.
and then boom, flurry of messages. Client stuck in Panama needing an apostille, like, right now.
Wow, okay, so bit of a fire drill.
Exactly. So instead, you're going to hear how that actually unfolded. It involved reaching out across state lines,
Yeah.
collaborating. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's a great example because what seems simple, notarizing something, it can get complicated fast. It
Right.
really tests your adaptability and your network. You need good people to call.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to talk Q1 strategies, how January can be kind of slow here in Georgia sometimes.
Yeah, that post-holiday lull.
But this client thing came up, and it felt like such a perfect, real-world example of what we actually do. So we had to dive into it.
So you're getting a live look, basically, a real business problem playing out.
Yeah.
And it shows how notaries in different places, different specialties, actually work together, even when the client's miles away.
Think of it like an unfiltered peek behind the scenes. The messy bits, the problem solving, how those connections really matter. That's our mission for this deep dive.
And the core piece here is the apostille, which, for anyone maybe not super familiar,
Yeah, good point. What is that exactly?
it's basically an extra layer of authentication for documents, makes them valid for use in other countries, ones that are part of this thing called the Hague Convention.
Okay, so it proves the document is legit internationally.
Pretty much. It
Yeah.
verifies the notary's signature and seal. It's important to know, though, notaries don't issue the apostille itself.
Right, that's usually the state, like the Secretary of State or maybe U.S. Department of State.
Exactly. But the notary's job, getting that initial notarization right, that's the absolutely essential first step. You can't get an apostille without it.
Gotcha. Okay, so this specific case, I got contacted by a colleague here in Georgia. Let's call her Notary K.
Okay.
Her client had already left the U.S., was in Panama, and they needed school documents notarized and then apostilled.
School docs. Okay.
Three
Okay.
things. 2 from public schools, looked like report cards or similar, and 1 was a homeschool report card.
Right. And the client being in Panama, that immediately flags a potential issue for notarization, doesn't it?
Big time. Physically appearing wasn't an option. So remote online notarization, that came up straight away.
Makes sense. Using that audiovisual tech to do it remotely.
Exactly. So you'll hear part of a call I jumped on with Miss Sue. She's a Texas notary, does a lot of RON work.
Ah, bringing in the specialist.
Yep. So on that call, we laid out the basics. Clients in Panama, 3 documents, basically report cards. 2 public school, 1 homeschool. The homeschool one was just like a printout, not official letterhead or anything. The public school ones were on letterhead, but they had electronic signatures from teachers, principals.
The electronic signature is interesting. And were they already notarized?
Nope. Confirmed none of them had been touched by a notary yet.
Good, good. So clean slate. But the big question with RON, especially with someone overseas, ID, right?
That was the first thing we hit. Super critical point. For RON, unless it's like a real estate deal,
Yeah, there are some exceptions there.
right. But for general stuff like this, federal guidelines, most states, they demand a valid U.S. state-issued ID, government-issued.
Meaning that Panamanian passport or any other foreign ID?
Not going to fly for this. It wouldn't pass the ID check for notarizing these school documents remotely.
That's a huge detail. Clients don't always realize that.
Definitely not. So once we established that hurdle, we talked about how Miss Sue would likely notarize these in Texas.
Okay. What was the approach?
She figured copy certification by custodian was probably the way to go.
Ah, okay. So that's where the person with the original document swears that the copy is true and accurate.
Exactly. The client, in this case, would be the custodian of their child's report card. They'd swear the copy they provide is legit.
Right. And that's different from, say, a notary certifying a copy of a birth certificate or something.
Totally different. For those vital records or official transcripts, you usually need the actual original issued by the agency, often recently issued, like within the last 5 years or something.
Got it. So copy certification by custodian is more for personal type records like these report cards. Makes sense.
Which then brought up another point for the apostille itself, the dates.
Ah, yeah. The documents need to be current, right?
Exactly. We checked, and all 3 were from the 2023-2024 school year. So, recent.
Good. Because the country receiving it wants to know its up-to-date info. An old report card might not cut it.
Right. So, verifying that date was pretty important.
Okay, so documents are current, ID is sorted, needs to be U.S. state ID, notarization method figured out. What about actually getting the apostille from Texas?
Yeah, the logistics. So, Miss Sue, she's based outside Dallas, but she uses a courier service.
Ah, smart. Down in Austin, near the Secretary of State's office.
Exactly. She has a relationship with them. They handle the filings.
That makes a huge difference instead of mailing things back and forth.
Oh, way faster. The courier just walks it in.
Cuts down the processing time significantly. What did she estimate?
Usually 5 to 7 business days to get the apostille back using the courier. Maybe faster if needed, she said.
That's pretty good. Compared to mail, that could take weeks.
Seriously. Especially with international stuff, time is often critical.
Absolutely. Clients appreciate that efficiency. Did you guys talk fees?
We did. Miss Sue's RON fee was $25 for the session itself.
Per session, okay.
And then $10 for each notary stamp she applies.
Standard kind of RON pricing. Makes sense. And payment.
Pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, though she mentioned Cash App might have a fee.
Yeah.
And regular online invoices, too.
Good. Easy digital options. Important when your client's potentially anywhere.
For sure.
Yeah.
So after that initial chat, we got Notary K, the Georgia notary,
The one with the client, yeah.
on a 3-way call with me and Miss Sue, just to make sure everyone's totally on the same page.
Good move. Syncing up all the players.
Yeah, it was cool to see that happen. You know, the local notary identifies the need, realizes, okay, I can't do RON for this person in Panama,
Right, state limitations.
and then connects them with the specialist, the Texas RN notary.
That collaboration is key.
So on that 3-way call, we reconfirmed, okay, 3 report cards, 2 public, 1 homeschool.
Check.
We confirmed Notary K physically had the hard copies there in Georgia.
Okay, good.
We hammered home again. Client needs a U.S. state ID for the RN. No wiggle room there since they're in Panama.
Crucial reminder.
Went over Miss Sue's fees again, and she confirmed her courier setup with the Texas Secretary of State was solid.
Perfect. Clarity for everyone.
And I really stressed, that Notary K and Miss Sue needed to connect directly after our call.
Yeah, for the nitty-gritty. Yeah.
Exactly. To schedule the actual RON session with a client, figure out the best way to securely share the documents electronically, coordinate with the courier, all that stuff.
Right. The notarization is just one step. The logistics around it need careful handling.
And the other thing, Notary K found Miss Sue through a referral.
Ah, the network effect.
Just shows how valuable building those connections is, right?
Yeah.
You just never know when you'll need someone with a specific skill or in a specific state.
Absolutely. It's like distributed expertise. Nobody knows everything, but if you know the right people.
You can solve almost anything for the client. Faster, better.
That collaborative model is just so powerful, especially for specialized things like RON and Apostilles.
Okay, so that was the main event, but I did want to quickly circle back to what I was going to talk about. Q1 marketing.
Right. The original plan.
Yeah.
Tackling that January slowdown.
Yeah, it can be a bit quiet sometimes after the holidays. Client needs shift, things pause.
Pretty normal for service businesses.
So one thing I was focusing on was online presence, like really doubling down on my Google business profile.
Oh, yeah. Essential. Especially for general notary work. That's where local people look first.
Totally. Your GBP, it's like your online storefront. Contact info, services, hours, and reviews. Super important. Getting that optimized for local search is baseline.
Foundational stuff. Absolutely.
Then I was also looking at signing service platforms like signingorder.com, snapdocs.com.
Okay, getting into the real estate side of things.
Yeah, but got to be careful with the words here in Georgia. We assist with notarizing documents for real estate transactions. We don't call ourselves loan signing agents specifically. State rules.
Good point. Always know your state's terminology and regulations, so those platforms connect you with title companies, lenders.
Basically, yeah. They're intermediaries for real estate closing work.
Got it.
And the third thing was maybe starting some more direct marketing.
Okay, like reaching out proactively.
Yeah. Identifying potential clients who might need notary services regularly.
Yeah.
Law firms, maybe. Real estate offices, assisted living places.
Right, targeting specific industries can be more work up front, but potentially leads to steadier business.
And honestly, this whole Apostille thing kind of highlights that too, the importance of the network. Building those relationships is part of marketing in a way.
Definitely. Nurturing connections, it all ties together.
And, for anyone listening who wants to dive deeper into direct marketing or just connect with other notaries, my free community is always there. Great place for that.
That sense of community and continuous learning, it's vital in this field. Things change.
So true. Okay, let's maybe wrap up with the key takeaways from all this.
Sounds good.
First, I think, it's just the unpredictable nature of this business. You got to be adaptable.
Oh, absolutely. Flexibility is key. Your day can change in an instant based on a client call. Being able to pivot is huge.
Second, networking. We saw it in action. Building those connections, especially across states or specialties like RON or Apostilles,
Yeah.
it's invaluable.
It's your support system and your referral engine, really. Expands what you can offer, makes your business stronger.
Third, we saw the actual steps for an apostille request. Even with that tricky overseas client piece, it's detailed, requires knowing the rules.
Yeah, understanding that whole chain notarization first. Then the apostille process, state requirements, gotta be precise.
Fourth, knowing your state's rules, especially for RON. and how to handle different document types. What Texas allows might be different elsewhere.
Hugely important. Laws vary so much state to state. Staying current is non-negotiable for ethical, reliable service.
And fifth, we touched on marketing. Tailoring your approach.
Wow.
GBP for local general work, signing platforms for real estate assistants. Not one size fits all.
Right. Know your audience, reach them where they are. Smart marketing.
It all comes back to learning and collaborating, doesn't it? Keep growing.
Okay.
I mentioned folks like Judy Lawrence, Ebony Locke for training. Finding good resources that fit how you learn is so important.
Definitely. The field evolves. Ongoing education, learning from peers, that's how you stay sharp and provide the best service.
So hopefully seeing this real-time scenario gave you a real sense of how collaborative this work can be, the problem solving involved.
Yeah, a practical look at the resourcefulness needed sometimes. It's not always just stamping a paper.
So here's a final thought for you listening. How could building out your network of notary contacts help your business?
Could it let you handle trickier requests, get more referrals, access expertise you don't have yourself?
Yeah, think about that. And also, those marketing ideas we touched on, Google business profile, maybe platforms, direct outreach. How could you apply those in your area?
Taking even small, proactive steps consistently can really build momentum for your business.
And hey, if you have questions about this Apostille situation or your own stories about collaborating across states, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, sharing experiences helps everyone learn.
And don't forget, the free notary community is there if you want to chat more. Links in my bio, second button down, easy to find.
Great place to connect, ask questions, get support, keep that learning going.
Exactly. It's all a journey, right? Learning, connecting, growing in this profession. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.